Sudden, drastic personality shifts. This is where the environment becomes intensely serious. Sign number 3 is characterized by sudden, radical behavioral anomalies. Human beings naturally evolve and change over time through a gradual process of maturity. But a negative spiritual influence often manifests as an abrupt, violent U-turn in a person's core personality. You watch someone shift overnight from being calm, centered, and analytical to intensely aggressive and volatile. They transition from a state of hopefulness and productivity into an engine of absolute self-destruction. Their natural warmth is replaced by a chilling, uncharacteristic coldness. And as someone who cares about them, you can literally feel it in your spirit. Something is fundamentally off. When you observe an individual actively sabotaging their own hard-earned opportunities, intentionally destroying their most supportive relationships, harming their own body, and violently rejecting any form of genuine help or counsel, you are no longer looking at standard bad behavior. You are looking at a deep, systemic, negative spiritual grip. Do not make the fatal mistake of attacking the person physically or getting offended by their venom. But do not make the mistake of ignoring the warning sign either. This is the exact moment where your prayers must shift away from surface-level complaints and move toward deep, behind-the-scenes spiritual intercession for their freedom. The coercive engine of manipulation, control, and fear. Now, we have arrived at the deep waters, the signs that most people pass off as standard relationship quirks until their emotional infrastructure is completely dismantled. Sign number 4, the systematic elimination of your freedom. You must become hyper-aware of how your internal baseline reacts when you are in the immediate presence of certain individuals. Ask yourself these diagnostics. Do you constantly feel a subtle underlying pressure to alter your values just to keep them placated? Do you feel entirely silenced, like your voice, your perspective, and your boundaries don't actually matter? Are you living in a continuous state of walking on eggshells, terrified that one wrong word will ignite an emotional explosion? Let's strip away the social excuses. That dynamic is not love. That is control. The sovereign blueprint. True love operates through the currency of freedom. A negative spiritual influence always operates through the mechanics of restriction, guilt, and emotional intimidation. Control is incredibly deceptive because it loves to hide behind virtuous masks. It will disguise itself as protection, as deep love, or as just being highly passionate. But the fruit of the influence never lies. If a relationship systematically strips away your identity and forces you to live in a continuous state of anxiety and fear, it is driven by a toxic spiritual engine. Setting an unyielding boundary is not a selfish act of isolation. It is a mandatory requirement for the preservation of your divine assignment. An active, systematic hatred for what is right. This is the absolute clearest, most unmasked sign of negative spiritual alignment on the planet. Sign number 5, moral inversion. This occurs when a person doesn't merely choose to step away from truth or make a personal mistake. They actively despise what is objectively good. They become an evangelist for disorder. They will openly mock purity, integrity, and genuine faith. They will enthusiastically promote, celebrate, and platform things that are explicitly harmful, toxic, and destructive to the human soul. They completely reject any form of accountability or truth that challenges their lifestyle. Over time, this continuous exposure creates a profound distortion in the environment. Wrong is systematically repackaged until it looks entirely normal. Right is systematically attacked until it feels uncomfortable, outdated, and strange to even mention. This is not a simple difference of opinion or a modern cultural preference. This is a deliberate, calculated spiritual rewriting of reality. You must stand completely firm in this environment, because if you choose to stay silent long enough just to keep a fake, superficial peace, you will eventually begin to doubt the very things you know are absolutely right in your soul. Do not let the distortion reshape your compass. Let's look at the complete spiritual reality we have laid bare today. A visceral resistance to truth creates a field of confusion. Systemic chaos completely destroys internal peace. Sudden darkness completely mutates human behavior. The obsession with control strips away personal freedom. The hatred for what is right completely distorts reality. This deep breakdown was never intended to make you live in a state of fear, paranoia, or suspicion toward the world around you. This is about establishing a high level of spiritual awareness, because the exact moment your eyes are open to see the unseen rules of engagement, you stop reacting emotionally to the surface level static, and you start responding wisely with the authority of discernment. You cannot win a spiritual battle using physical arguments. You cannot fix an environmental influence by changing your vocabulary. You must change your alignment. So as you close this video and step back into your daily routines, look closely at the environments you are willingly allowing yourself to sit in and ask yourself the ultimate question: am I actively managing the spiritual atmosphere around me? Or am I letting it silently rewrite who I am? Because once you unlock true discernment, you stop becoming a victim of the environment and you start becoming the force that shifts it. Right now, I want you to anchor this shift with an intentional physical act of commitment. Go directly down to the comments section below and type 5 words: Lord, give me discernment. Do not write this out of a casual, thoughtless habit to satisfy an algorithm. Type it out as a conscious, definitive declaration within your own mind that you are officially stepping out of emotional reactions and moving into absolute spiritual awareness. If this deep dive opened your eyes to a dimension of your daily relationships you haven't noticed before, hit that like button right now. Share this video with someone in your circle who is currently feeling drained, heavy, and confused, because showing them the unseen blueprint can save them from years of invisible warfare. Subscribe to the channel, guard your alignment with absolute vigilance, and I will see you in the very next video. Have you ever spent time talking to someone you deeply care about, only to walk away feeling completely, utterly drained, confused, heavy, like an unexplainable weight just settled directly into your chest, and no matter how hard you try to rationalize it or explain it away to yourself, you simply can't? Here is the raw reality most people completely ignore. Not every single problem in your life is physical, and not every negative influence is visible to the naked eye. Sometimes what you are picking up on is infinitely deeper than a flawed personality or a bad mood. You are colliding with something spiritual. Let's establish a vital rule before we go a single step further. This is not about judgment. This is not an invitation for you to point fingers, feel superior, or start labeling your friends, your co-workers, or your family members as evil, this is about discernment. Because if you do not understand the unseen mechanics of what is actually happening in your environment, you will continually respond to spiritual problems with emotional reactions. You will argue, you will exhaust yourself, and you will lose your peace. In this deep dive, we are exposing the 5 distinct warning signs of negative spiritual influence operating in the people around you, and exactly how to navigate them without compromising your alignment. Stay locked in until the very end of this video, because signs number 4 and number 5 are the exact subtle traps that most well-meaning people ignore completely until the damage is already done. Let's look at the blueprint. Have you ever noticed this bizarre phenomenon happen in real time? You could be having a completely normal, light-hearted conversation with someone, but the exact millisecond you bring up something of substance, whether that's a matter of deep faith, personal purpose, moral integrity, or objective truth, the entire atmosphere in a room instantly shifts. Suddenly, an unprovoked wave of sarcasm appears, the physical tension rises, the dialogue transforms from a casual chat into a sharp, hostile defense. And if you step back and evaluate it objectively, the reaction feels completely disproportionate to the context of the conversation. The law of exposure. Light doesn't negotiate with darkness, it simply displaces it. When a space is highly resistant to truth, it is rarely a logical disagreement, it is a spiritual reaction to being exposed. When a negative spiritual influence encounters pure truth, it cannot remain comfortable. It reacts with static electricity because the truth forces a confrontation with things the individual is desperately trying to hide from or suppress. When you see this sign manifest, you must change your strategy immediately. Stop arguing. Stop trying to prove your point with louder words. Stay completely calm. Your emotional stability is your anchor. Speak significantly less. Do not feed the hostility with more arguments. Observe significantly more. Pay attention to the underlying source of the friction. Not every single battle in your life is meant to be fought with verbal weapons. Sometimes your absolute silence is the most potent spiritual boundary you can establish. The systemic carrier of chaos and drama. There is a massive structural difference between a person who is simply going through a difficult, chaotic season and a person who is a systematic carrier of chaos. We all experience seasons of hardship, but a carrier of chaos behaves entirely differently. Everywhere they step, unwarranted conflict naturally materializes. Interpersonal tension grows exponentially out of nothing. Healthy, long-term relationships consistently fracture and disintegrate. And over time, if you stand too close to their orbit, you will notice an undeniable pull trying to drag you right into the center of the whirlpool. A difficult season. Temporary disruption caused by external events. The individual actively seeks resolution and peace, elevates your empathy and leaves you stable. A carrier of chaos, permanent, recurring loops of crisis and drama. The individual subverts resolution to sustain the friction, drains your energy, and attempts to pull you into the cycle. If you fail to establish hard boundaries with a carrier of chaos, you will eventually become raw material for their next cycle of disorder. Let's be entirely direct. Repeated, predictable, consistent disorder is not a string of bad luck. It is a spiritual pattern. And patterns always reveal the underlying influence behind them. You must protect your peace at all costs. Understand that not everyone in your circle actually desires a resolution to their problems. Some individuals subconsciously feed on the chaos because it justifies their internal state of instability. Step out of the cycle.